Good morning, students. Welcome to B.Sc-II 4th semester Zoology online class. So today I am going to discuss on the histology of endocrine glands. Histology of endocrine glands. In that, the first endocrine gland is pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. Okay. So the pituitary gland or hypophysis is structurally and functionally most complex endocrine gland. So the pituitary gland is, it's also known as hypophysis, and it is structurally and functionally most complex endocrine gland. See, it's most complex. Why? Because it secretes number of hormones which control other endocrine glands of the body. Therefore, it is complex endocrine gland. So it is located in the brain, attached by a slender hypophyseal or infundibular stalk just behind the optic chiasma. So here, so just behind the optic chiasma, this is infundibulum, this is pituitary gland attached to the ventral part of the brain. So this is pituitary gland. Okay. The pituitary gland has double origin, as it is partly derived from oral ectoderm and partly from the brain. See, the pituitary gland has it has been originated from two regions. So the lower part of the brain also contributes to the formation of pituitary gland, and the upper part of the buccal cavity. Buccal cavity is lined by ectoderm. So upper part of the buccal cavity, that part, that epithelium is also contributed for the formation of pituitary gland. So partly derived from the oral ectoderm, and partly from the brain. Partly from the oral ectoderm means our body, oral cavity, buccal cavity, roof of the buccal cavity is involved in the formation of pituitary gland. Little part of the oral ectoderm, and another part of the pituitary gland is part of the brain. That means the pituitary gland is made up of the epithelial secretory cells as well as nerve cells. So nerve cells are the part of the brain, and the epithelial cells, secretory cells, are from the oral ectoderm. So thus the pituitary gland is made up of two parts. The pituitary gland has two main parts, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is also called as anterior pituitary. Neurohypophysis is also known as posterior pituitary. So look here, this part is anterior pituitary. Can you see this green part, anterior pituitary, whereas this one is posterior pituitary. So posterior pituitary has connection to the brain. So this is the hypothalamus. This part is called hypothalamus part. Okay. So from the hypothalamus, nerve cells enter into the pars nervosa, that is the posterior pituitary, all these nerves coming from the hypothalamus. So nerve cells are present in the posterior pituitary, whereas here in the anterior pituitary, nerve cells are not present, because this part is derived from the roof of the oral cavity, oral ectoderm. This is made up of oral ectoderm, whereas this is made up of brain. Clear? Therefore, the hypophysis or the pituitary gland has been originated from two different parts. So this is anterior pituitary or adenohypophysis. This is posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis. So adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. These are the two main parts of the pituitary gland. So adenohypophysis, it is also called glandular lobe. This is anterior two-third of the gland which is formed from stomodial portion. Stomodial portion, stoma means mouth, mouth cavity, buccal cavity, the roof of the buccal cavity, little part of it is contributed for the formation of adenohypophysis, pituitary gland. So this anterior two-third of the gland which is formed from stomodial portion, it has following parts: pars distalis, pars tuberalis and pars intermedia. So this adenohypophysis has been divided into three parts again: pars distalis, pars tuberalis and pars intermedia. I will show you. So this is pars distalis, this part is pars distalis, and this is pars tuberalis, these two, pars tuberalis, and middle part, this yellow part, this is called pars intermedia, pars intermedia, pars intermedia, pars distalis and pars tuberalis. These three parts come under adenohypophysis, means anterior pituitary. Next, neurohypophysis, posterior pituitary. Neurohypophysis, this is formed from neural ectoderm. Neural ectoderm takes part in formation of neurohypophysis. It has following parts: pars nervosa and infundibulum. Pars nervosa and infundibulum. This is infundibulum. This one is pars nervosa. Pars nervosa. So stalk of the pituitary gland, pars nervosa. Pars tuberalis and pars nervosa and pars infundibulum. This is pars nervosa, pars infundibulum. Clear? So the pituitary gland has been divided into two parts, mainly two parts: anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary is again divided into three parts: pars distalis, pars tuberalis and pars intermedia. And posterior pituitary has been divided into two parts: pars nervosa and pars the infundibulum, pars infundibulum. This is pars infundibulum. Okay. Next, adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis. In that, pars distalis. Pars distalis or anterior lobe is the largest one. 75% of the pituitary is known as pars distalis. Part of pituitary gland supported by collagenous capsule. It is supported by collagenous capsule, fiber containing capsule. So in this region, two major types of cells occur, namely chromophils and chromophores. Chromophils, chromophores, stain taking, stain hating, they don't take a stain. So chromophils are stain taking. Chromophores do not take much stain, they are lighter in color. So pars tuberalis, pars tuberalis, pars tuberalis is a layer of cuboidal cells that covers the part of the stalk and tuberal area of the brain. It is highly vascular, not known whether these cells produce any hormone or not. Okay, so that is about pars tuberalis. Pars tuberalis comes under the adenohypophysis. Next, pars intermedia. Pars intermedia, it is a narrow region between pars distalis and pars nervosa. So this yellow part, this part, this is called pars intermedia. This pars intermedia is also added into the adenohypophysis. It secretes only one type of hormone, that is MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone. So pars intermedia, it contains a stratum of epithelium cells which is formed by several layers of polygonal cells, and they are basophilic. They are basophilic. So basic stains are taken by these cells. The pars intermedia secrete melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH in lower vertebrates like fish and amphibians, but in the mammals the function of MSH is obscure. So MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, is secreted by the pars intermedia. This is the only hormone secreted by pars intermedia. Then neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis is posterior pituitary. It is formed by ventral cylindrical outgrowths from the floor of the diencephalon, which forms the stalk and posterior 1/3 of the pituitary gland. Posterior 1/3 of the pituitary gland is of neurohypophysis. It is connected to diencephalon, and the nerve cells are coming from the hypothalamus. The posterior 1/3 of the gland, which is formed by swollen end of ventral outgrowth, is called pars nervosa or infundibular process. Infundibular process, stalk which is connected to the hypothalamus. The cells of neural lobe are called pituicytes. So two hormones such as oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone are secreted from neurohypophysis. So neurohypophysis or posterior pituitary known to secrete two types of hormones. Actually these are not secreted by the posterior pituitary, they are actually secreted by the nerve cells, and this is only stored in posterior pituitary. As and when it is required, these two hormones are released to the blood circulation. So oxytocin and vasopressin. Vasopressin is also called as antidiuretic hormone. So these two hormones are important, and these are the only hormones secreted by neurohypophysis. Okay, oxytocin is necessary for the contraction of smooth muscles, and antidiuretic hormone is required for minimizing the outflow of water through the urine. Chromophils. Now let us talk about the cells present in pituitary gland. We already discussed there are mainly two types of cells, chromophils and chromophores. Chromophils, these are ovoid cells with granular cytoplasm and nuclei. They take up acid or basic stains and are classified into two types, estophils and the estophils again of two types. Estophils, they are also called as alpha cells. Estophils are rounded or ovoid cells 10 to 20 micron in diameter. They have cytoplasm that stains red or orange color. Okay, estophils, they take acid stain. Then estophils are of two types, somatotrophs and mammotrophs. These cells secrete somatotrophin hormones and growth hormone. Growth hormone secreted by somatotrophs. Mammotrophs, you know, pituitary gland secretes prolactin hormone. Prolactin hormone is also called as lutotroph. Prolactin is necessary for the secretion of milk in mammary glands. So production of milk in mammary gland is stimulated by prolactin hormone. That prolactin hormone secreting cells are mammotrophs. These cells secrete prolactin hormone. So basophils, estophils are of two types, and now discuss about the basophils. Basophils are called beta cells, estophils are called alpha cells. So basophils, they are irregular shaped and stain with basic dyes. They stain with basic dyes, whereas estophils stain with acidic dyes, acidic stains. Basophils are of two types again, thyrotrophs and gonadotrophs. Two types of basophils are there. Thyrotrophs, these cells secrete thyrotrophic hormone, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. You know, anterior pituitary secretes TSH, the what you call prolactin, growth hormone. Okay, they are all secreted by the anterior pituitary. Thyrotrophs, these are the thyroid basophils secrete TSH hormone. They secrete thyrotrophic hormone. They stimulate thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine hormone. Then gonadotrophs, gonadal stimulating hormones. These cells secrete gonadotrophic hormone like FSH and LH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone which stimulates follicles for the production of gametes. LH is luteinizing hormone. These are also secreted by the anterior pituitary. So these thyrotrophs, gonadotrophs, astrophils, basophils, they are present in the anterior pituitary. So LH, luteinizing hormone, is required for ovulation in females, and in males LH is required for the production of androgens. Androgens are testosterones, male hormones. Okay, so FSH in females required for the development, normal development of ovarian follicles, and it is also necessary for the secretion of estrogen in females. In males, in females, LH also responsible for it performs two functions mainly. Number one is ovulation. Number two is it stimulates corpus luteum for the secretion of progesterone hormone. Progesterone hormone is secreted by the LH stimulation. FSH stimulates the production of estrogen in females. But in males, FSH helps in production of sperms. LH helps in production of androgens. Chromophores. So these are also called as chief cells. These cells are spherical, elongated and irregular cells and appear in groups near center of cords. These cells contain light staining cytoplasm. These cells produce adrenocorticotrophic hormone, ACTH. Chromophores secrete ACTH, adrenocorticotrophic hormone. So ACTH is secreted by the chromophores. TSH, then prolactin, prolactin, TSH, LH, FSH, growth hormone, all these are secreted by the chromophils. So this is a section of pituitary gland. This is pars distalis, anterior pituitary. This is pars nervosa, posterior pituitary. This is pars intermedia, lumen of Rothk's pouch, and this is connected to the hypothalamus. And this is pars tubralis, stalk of the pituitary gland. So here chromophores and chromophils are present here. Here in pars nervosa, only nerve cells are present. Here you can see. So these are basophils. They take stain of basic stain. Astrophils are dark in color, dark red in color. Okay. Basophils, astrophils. These are chromophils. Pars intermedia. Yes, pars distalis, intermedia, pars nervosa. So that's about the histology of pituitary gland. So let us have a look on assignments. First assignment, write the parts name of the pituitary gland. Second one, which cells are present in adreno hypophysis? Write their names. So which hormones are secreted by adreno hypophysis and which hormones are secreted by neurohypophysis? Very simple questions. You have to attempt. Okay, so this is about the histology of main endocrine gland, that is the pituitary gland. Thank you.